2017 at 6 p.m. downtown here at City Hall in Wisconsin Rapids. We'll just go around the room for people to introduce themselves.
City Clerk Alderman. Joe Terry, Director of Public Works. Joe Easton, City Engineer.
Jonathan Anderson, Daily Review.
I'm Kyle Wagner with 80 Common Stevens Point.
Todd Fricke, City Alderman.
Scott Calray, City Alderman.
Okay, our first item is to review the DPW report.
Due to the holidays and I did not have the DPW report in your packet in advance. So I would like to, though, go through some notable accomplishments for 2016. The engineering department's been significantly challenged in the recent past to complete a wide variety of highly responsible projects and surveys assigned to them with the current staffing levels. By creating a priority list reviewed regularly with the Public Works Committee and staff focusing on that priority list, the First Street work design work for 2017 is about 75% complete, with a draft set of construction plans complete and available for the construction staff to review, and the Washington Street design is about 30% complete. This is a significant improvement over the 2016 project plan preparation, and I think notable. The Street and Parks Department experienced staff absences due to unforeseen health and operated short-handed for a good portion of 2016. Thanks to the diligent effort of the staff to fill the gaps and department heads to develop flexible work groups, project and maintenance work was complete on time and under budget. Given the additional challenges of replacing a veteran department head, the hiring of some new staff, and several lateral transfers within the department, the success of the department is significant and noteworthy. The change to single-stream automated recycling is a significant change with a number of challenges associated with that change. The ordinance language, purchase, assembly, and delivery of carts, specifying the new equipment, and effectively communicating the change in service to the residents is proven a formidable challenge to staff, but the service is scheduled to begin as planned on January 9th. The Airport Commission made a significant change in organization to employ an airport administrator as compared to the fixed-based operator. There have been challenges for the Commission and administrator, as a multi-municipal airport is somewhat unique in organization and funding. The organization, professionalism, and improved service, and attention to needed capital projects at this time of opportunity is encouraging. Wastewater staff continues to be challenged with plant operation and DNR discharge permit compliance due to dramatically variable waste loadings from the city's industrial customers. Staff diligence to find solutions to the problems and willingness to try different processes while performing in strict compliance with the discharge limits is commendable. Wastewater administrative staff, in cooperation with the city attorney and legal counsel, has completed and updated a sustainable rate structure and is making real progress on updating contract agreements with surrounding municipalities and high-strength loading industrial customers. This work has been slowly underway for some time and has made significant progress recently. The wastewater collection system maintenance staff, in cooperation with our new GIS coordinator, are implementing new asset management software that will allow the utility to more effectively maintain and track collection system conditions. While the new technology is challenging, especially for veteran staff members, staff is learning quickly and are taking very significant ownership into the new program. The hiring of the GIS coordinator has resulted in some significant progress in the development and maintenance of our geographical and infrastructure data. Efficiency opportunities are being discovered, and literally hundreds of staff hours of work are being saved by some of the automation developed by the new coordinator, allowing staff to concentrate on solving complex problems rather than repetitive data management tasks. Staff has developed projects, specifications, requests for proposals, contract negotiation, and is performing project oversight for several high-profile projects, including aquatics, the riverfront stabilization improvements, urban forestry, the East Grand Avenue reconstruction, and other projects that will help shape the community for years to come. Staff from several city departments networked with other organizations at an economic development and leadership training program hosted by the Encourage Community Foundation called Blueprints for Tomorrow. Given the challenges of funding projects and the highly competitive nature of grant funding, innovative methods of collaboration were studied. This is a pretty good list of accomplishments for our Public Works Department in 2016. I'm really proud of all the staff, and want to thank the mayor and our council and this committee for the support and guidance, and we're looking forward to some good things in 2017. So
Thank you for your leadership.
you're welcome.
A lot of
Wanted to share that with you. I do want to highlight one other thing, and I mentioned it as one of the successes, and it's down to GIS. An estimated 75 to 80% time savings was accomplished converting old engineering site comp files to AutoCAD by creating a program using what's called an auto hotkey script editor versus manually converting the files. The engineering department has a lot of our, or all of our old CAD files and design work was done in SiteComp. And was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 or 3 years ago.
2 or 3 years ago, the city switched over to AutoCAD. And there is no direct way to transfer those files. There's no real automated way to do it. And so, literally what you have to do is you have to open the file, save as, and then perform that task for every one of the probably 15,000 files. And our new GIS coordinator over the last several weeks, I don't think she's worked on it straight for several weeks, but one of the projects she's been working on is automating that task, and she's successfully done that. And so the city was literally looking at having to maybe use an outside temp service or someone to help us convert those files, and literally she's been able to do it on a computer if that computer is vacant and can run these algorithms, and it's working out magnificently. So she really deserves a lot of credit because it's a substantial cost savings to the department. The rest of the report I'd like you to look at your leisure. I'll have it sent off to our and put on our website. And it lists our activities for the month of December.
All right. Thank you, Joe.
Yep.
Number 2, present an update on the revised 8th Street South and East Grand Avenue intersection DOT Safety Improvement Project Agreement.
So this will be a rather short update, but the agreement is attached in your packet. It's the second revision to this agreement for the 8th Street South and East Grand Avenue project, which would be occurring in 2017. So the reason for the change is the project hit the project's specifications and estimate stage with the DOT. So it's essentially final plans, and they put together a final cost estimate before it goes to bid. And so they wanted to, the DOT wanted to reflect the changes in this agreement. Some of the things that were added were some of the 100% city costs. I'm on the second page, which kind of lists the summary of costs. That's really the only section that changed in this portion of the agreement. Sanitary sewer utility, water main utility, and street lighting categories were added to this agreement. In addition, there was about 22,000 in additional roadway items that were added. All those costs being 100% borne by the city. These costs were budgeted for, and some of the modifications or items that may have added to the $22,000 increase. There's not one single item in the project that really identified as making up the majority of that cost, but the final pavement quantities, curb and gutter quantities, stuff with the traffic signals, all added up to an additional 22,000. And then on top of that, the additional utility costs. So just something that we wanted to point out to the committee and update you on.
When will they start on this?
Well, it'll be bid out this spring and construction can start in May. And then it'll probably take 2 or 3 months to complete.
That's good.
Any questions?
There's no motion on this one.
No, just an update.
Just an update.
Just an update. Item number 3, present a progress update on truck access route signing.
So this morning we met with the police department to go through some of the upcoming, or the implementation of the signing proposal, which should be occurring by next Wednesday. We should have the signs installed. And so with that, we hope to get the signs out there, let them sit for a week or so. I'd like to put some temporary signs on Baker Street to notify any truck drivers that are still using Baker Street of the change and the potential fine for using that route. Coupled hopefully with enforcement thereafter. And along with that, we also are going to utilize the previous letters that we've sent out and notify a few more business owners of the signing change. And also throughout 2017, continue with the contacting the GPS providers and continue that effort to try to get in contact with them and get Baker Street off of their GPS units. So.
Could we put something in the newspapers? Just for a number of reasons, for the community that's affected knows that we're doing something about the trucking.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's a good point. It's on our list of things we discussed this morning. Another item that we need to take care of within the next 2 weeks. So as all this stuff is occurring, hopefully it'll all get out to the community. And
We had a list of about 10 different operators that we were going to try to personally send that letter to, that that utilize that area frequently. And in our meeting with the police department this morning, there are some suggestions, or there are limitations to what we can do on the state highway, but we have more flexibility on our local streets. And so we received some suggestions from the police department how we may better sign some of the local streets to prevent some of that activity from happening. The engineering department's going to review some of those suggestions and make sure that they're consistent with a uniform traffic control manual. But we're looking at those options as well to try to do what we can to avoid the enforcement necessity. We also, though, I was encouraged that the police department is, ready to do some active enforcement in those areas, especially as we implement the signing and get those things out there. What we're looking at doing is using some methods to emphasize some of the signs, enlarge a few of them, hang some flags by some of them, really to emphasize that hey, this is here, and then that coupled with enforcement will hopefully curtail some of the issue. Now, for the public, there should be an understanding that's not going to eliminate trucks from that route, because if they do have a legitimate local delivery, they've got every right to be there. However, say delivering from the east side IGA to the west side IGA, Baker's not the thoroughfare for that. So that's part of the educational piece that we need to try to do our best to inform the public.
It's good.
Any questions? No. Number 4, present a progress update on the recycling cart delivery and the new recycling truck.
So I wanted to go through this just to kind of give everybody an update. The carts that were ordered had been delivered to the residents as of December 20th. Based on parcel ID, I underestimated the total number of carts by about 900. Some areas requiring multiple carts, such as mobile home parks, 3 and 4 family dwellings, complexes such as that were not included in the initial estimate. So at this time, all residents except those in the Tuesday West Side collection schedule have received their carts. The city garage has been getting a number of calls with questions relating to how the service is going to be performed. In some cases, they didn't receive a cart or they received a duplicate cart, so staff is in the process of taking care of those concerns. Also, record keeping for the cart rollout has been very important, as these records will be used to verify cart location and to aid in the likely rollout of the automated refuse collection in the near future. Additionally, if we have issues relating, perhaps somebody puts garbage in their recycling cart, and that gets observed in the camera in the truck as that cart's tipping, because that's a direct video feed right to the driver. They can see what's going on. It allows us then the opportunity to use our C-Click Fix application that we have with a photograph of the cart and the house. We can confirm the address that cart belongs to is presumably the house that it's in front of, and enforcement action then can be fairly swift to try to correct the matter. We'd also use those records to to improve the rollout of our garbage collection carts when that takes place. We'll have a much better count of actual addresses that are residential addresses and the number of carts that need to go with each parcel. So that record keeping is very important. As you saw, the completed recycling truck has arrived, and the graphics, I think, are outstanding. It's very tasteful and represents the community well using our Rapid Splash logo. We will be starting collection on January 9th. Improperly placed carts will be tagged. Homeowners placing garbage in the recycling carts will be referred to ordinance control. And if there are costs associated with tipping fees to dump a contaminated load of recyclables, there's the potential that those fees could be assessed back to the property owner. So we're going to really want to try to do our best, especially as we get started, to notify the public and educate them so that we don't have to go straight to enforcement action. So for the residents in the Tuesday West Side route, they will continue to place their recyclables out as they have. However, they will not need to sort them, right? They'll be able to commingle their recyclables like everybody else. What we'll do for that is we've outfit one of the old garbage trucks with a can tipper on the back. We'll be collecting recyclables in the garbage truck. They will be recycled. They will go to the recycling center. It won't be going to the landfill. We will be recycling. Until those carts come, the carts are expected to arrive right now about middle of February, so there'll be about 3 collection cycles where we'll be having to perform this way. There are also several residents elsewhere that have they maybe didn't receive their cart, or there's an issue there. We do have a few of the smaller carts in inventory, and we had planned on maintaining a small inventory. We'll distribute those carts temporarily so that we don't have to run all over the community with different vehicles to pick up different types of recycling. So we'll do that on a temporary basis, and then once we get our final order of regular carts, we'll exchange those out and be underway. So we'll be practicing the rest of the week. Staff will be setting up carts at the city garage, and staff will be practicing so that hopefully they can become quite skilled at operating the truck before they're faced with maybe working in tight quarters around parked cars and so on and so forth. As you saw, that arm operates fairly quickly, so you don't want to pick up a can that's next to a car or something like that, because you could cause some damage if you're not careful. And then I'm also excited that the newspaper is going to be over at the garage on Thursday to ask some questions and take a look also, so thank you for that. So that is an update on our where we're at on our recycling program.
How much does that cost us to get a truck?
That truck was right around $265,000.
Oh, I thought it was more than that. We got a deal. I was thinking it was more.
It's a complex piece of equipment. It's very expensive. The truck that we purchased, there are cheaper trucks out there, but we visited a number of municipalities and saw a lot of how these trucks operate, and myself and our staff were convinced that this is the best value possible in longevity, performance, and ultimately cost over its life. And I'm proud of the truck. I think people are going to recognize it right away in town. It looks good. It's Rapids red and white, and it has our recycling logo on the side. It's a nice piece of equipment.
So
Yeah.
with the bins, they're just got numbers printed on them or branded onto them. We don't have the chips in the bins.
We do have the chips in the bins.
Okay.
We did not opt to purchase the technology in the truck to do the chip reading. We could add it if that's something that we want to do. A number of the municipalities that have that technology have found it marginally useful. And so we thought it would be better to implement the program, identify if we have any issues where that technology would be a significant improvement, and maybe invest in it at that time.
One other thing too, with the size bin that my household is getting, it's quite large.
Yes.
Which to me is probably 4 or 5 times more than I normally would have during a regular recycling pickup. So do you foresee other residences not putting their bin out on the regular recycling day? They'll just maybe skip a pass or?
Yeah, and I think, especially for recycling, that's fine. That material, it doesn't turn rancid, so if it comes out once a month, once every 2 months, if that's what's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
What we have found is that most communities react the same way. Some communities that we've talked to have been doing this now for 20 years. But the general reaction when the project is implemented or when the service is implemented is that the carts are too darn big. After a period of time, especially those that have switched in some of the other communities, are asking for the bigger carts, especially once you go to automated refuse collection, because there are limits. You can't just put out 20 bags of garbage. It needs to fit into the can that is available. And so in most cases, out of necessity, people then start to recycle more so that they've got room. The other primary reason for selecting a carton of that size is that we want to provide a cart that provides for the worst case scenario. A moving day, a spring cleaning, a holiday, so that there's ample room in that cart to handle whatever it is that people have. there has been some requests to consider an additional cart. What if a family wants an additional cart? We don't currently have that written up in our ordinance, but we're talking about some language that we could present to the committee for consideration. And that might be that the property owner would purchase the second cart or pay a fee for it, it's still city owned, and then would pay a fee that is representative of a single stop in the community. And I would estimate that to be, for recycling, probably around $50 to $60 a year. And when it comes to refuse, if that's a desire, we could look at that time, and again, I would estimate around $100 to $130 a year if it's a big family and they needed additional service. So those things are still in their infancy. We don't have that written into the ordinance yet. So.
Okay.
All right. Anything else on our new truck? You go see it during this week if you want to at the garage. Referral list, anything that we can take off or anything to add to it, does anybody have? I don't think anything to take off.
And if we want to look at number 10, I think we're to the point where we could possibly remove that, but if you want to wait to see how it works before you remove it, I guess that would be.
Let's just wait and see how it works.
Okay.
Okay, another meeting or two or something, see how it goes. Okay.
Number 12, Joe, do you want to maybe mention that one, the Sugar Creek dredging request?
So that the dredging of Quinnell's Creek is proposed to take place maybe as early as late winter of this year. And as we're preparing to submit for permit applications and stuff with the DNR, and notify the residents that live along Quinnell's Creek, we wanted to see what the committee thought about proposing special assessments for the dredging work to those property owners there. It has been done in the past for both Quinnell's Creek and the 1 Mile Creek ponds. It is something that the city needs to do in part because of the Clover Road DOT project that was done a number of years ago. There was an agreement where a portion of that headwaters where Quinnell's Creek dumps into the wider pond area has to have a sediment basin there that the city's required to keep clean. From what the amount of sediment that we would be removing from by agreement with the DOT is much smaller than what the entire pond needs to be dredged. There's a much larger volume there that is, no one could say a benefit to the property owners there. So just wanted to briefly mention it today, and something that we could discuss next month.
Okay, you want on the agenda in a month or so, or?
Possibly.
Okay.
I mean, it's consideration of it maybe.
Okay.
Did you want to show us this plan of the trail? You mentioned it to me.
Right, I brought this along in case there was, any questions afterwards, but the preliminary drawing for the First Street project is complete. We did have a design progress meeting, from which we ordered, or we invited the residents to participate in that. So, we had some general concepts at that time, and we listened to their input, and staff made as many modifications to address their concerns as possible. And I think it was a great process. It got a lot of questions on the table before we had, for example, our pre-construction meeting. So I think when we get to that phase here in early April, mid-April, the questions are gonna be more focused on specific components of the project rather than what's going on. So, and I guess I wanted to bring it along also. I'm really proud of the engineering department. You know, one of the concerns expressed by our construction staff in the past is the engineering department's got enough projects going that a lot of times these plans aren't ready for their review until a short period of time before construction actually starts. By having a preliminary set ready now, we'll be able to sit down with our construction foreman and staff, review this project, really start to work on means and methods and figure out how we're going to phase the project. That communication back, if there are some minor design changes, there's time to make those. We don't have to make them in the field. And when it comes time for the pre-construction meeting, we'll also have a much better feel for how we're going to build the project and can better communicate that to the residents that are going to be directly impacted. So it's here for your review.
One of the larger items of controversy was that walking path.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at the design here, it looks like they've addressed a lot of the concerns with minimal impact on residences. So.
Yeah, it looks good.
Good, yep.
I was going to say on item 14, there with the street lighting.
Mm-hmm.
I know Carrie, I think, is kind of taken care of, but I didn't know about 20. What was the other one? 25th Avenue? We had talked about.
21st and 25th. I can double check on actually 14, 15, 16, and 17. All
Four of those might be taken care of.
4 of those. More than I thought they would have, they had mentioned that they would have gotten it to it by now, but I can double check and see if something maybe came up and if they got delayed or.
You know, the Carey Street residences where the new residence housing there, I don't know if it's not a CAD service housing, but Wood brought the request to me, to you, and they're extremely happy because it was the LED lighting and really shows up that area a lot, which in the past was an area of concern because there were it was such a dark area at night. So
That's good.
they're very happy with that.
Okay, anybody else with referrals? On the list, okay. I guess then we'd be in order for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion is second to adjourn. All those in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, and we're adjourned at 6:45.